Top 10 things Jordan Love needs to do to succeed in 2025.
Yeah, I've been wanting this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Okay. Hey. Yeah. Ain't no errors, baby. It's a new era. I wake up early feeling rich like I'm Kesha.
Welcome in another episode of Sounds Gouda. Thank you everyone for coming back and taking a listen to me specifically this time. My name is Rob Ralph. Jordan Olson is not able to be here today, but he wishes you all well, and I'm sure we'll be listening in a car somewhere. Just know that we do have new content every Wednesday and Saturday on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So please make sure to give us a like, sub, and follow us on those platforms. We are trying to hit 600 subscribers. So if you've been a long-time listener, or maybe you're listening on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, why don't you shoot on over to YouTube and give us a like and subscribe there? We would genuinely appreciate it. So as I alluded to in the beginning, we're going to be talking about the top things that Jordan Love needs to do to succeed and be a top-tier quarterback in 2025 and 2026. And this is in no particular order too as well. So, but we will start off and get into it. So, number one, consistency. From promise to proof. Every NFL season, we see quarterbacks who flash brilliance one week and disappear the next. There's the difference between making highlights or making histories. Love shows elite capability with a fifth-ranked QBR, but the consistency separates franchise quarterbacks from career backups. So to pull off some stats for him from last year, 3,389 passing yards, 25 touchdowns, and a 96.7 passer rating over 15 games. Numbers that scream of potential, right? And whisper reliability. There's some other ones that have taken the stage that have gone through the same sort of path and have come out really well. Russell Wilson, went from an inconsistent rookie 26 touchdowns and 10 interceptions to a Super Bowl champion. Josh Allen transformed from a 52.88% completion percentage to an MVP candidate. And obviously, consistently on the cusp of winning the Super Bowl every year. So the downs, on the other side of that, Sam Darnold showed flashes of a bounce between four teams in 6 years. Obviously had some success here with the Vikings this last year. We'll see how it goes in Seattle. Blake Bortles had one great season, right? The Jaguars, 35 TDs that season, but then faded into mediocrity. So Love must expand his comfort zone systematically. Great quarterbacks don't avoid difficult situations. They master through them through repetition and experience. So I believe that if he can execute this, Love becomes elite. He really does. Fail, and he might become another Ryan Tannehill. Good enough to start, but never really quite good enough to win it all. Number two on this list, mechanics, building from the ground up. In football, just like in life, your foundation determines your ceiling. And right now, Love's foundation has some cracks that needs fixing. He did suffer some knee and groin injuries in 2024 and exposed some footwork issues that affected timing and rhythm throughout his passing game. And I think you could see that through the end of the year as well. And the inconsistencies on the offensive line, specifically in the playoffs, did not help. Mechanical inconsistency directly correlated with accuracy drops, I believe, too, under pressure, threw off the rhythm, the timing, and led to a lot of incompletes or some overthrown balls. There was flashes of brilliance for sure, but just not a lot of inconsistencies there. I think you can throw a lot of that for sure on the injuries. There is no doubt about that. But Aaron Rodgers completely rebuilt his throwing motion at Cal after becoming a Hall of Famer. Drew Brees, right? Same sort of thing. I know this wasn't, an injury to his throwing shoulder or anything as far as that goes, and his mechanics do look pretty good. I'm not saying he needs to be Aaron Rodgers or Drew Brees, but he needs to continue to work within Sean Mannion to be able to get his mechanics good, the timing on, and the rhythm and the repetition with the receivers. So, obviously Tim Tebow never do that. Johnny Manziel had tremendous plays at Texas A&M, but his poor footwork created accuracy issues for him, towards end of this year. So I think it'll be really critical for him to continue to build a good rapport, a good foundation with Sean Mannion. I think that's for any quarterback, right? But I think the stakes could be huge. Like fixed foundation, and Love becomes elite. Ignore it, and he could become someone like RG3. Talent limited by poor mechanics that compounded after injuries. So, and as always, too, let me know what you guys feel about any of this. Put your comments below. Let me know if you agree or disagree. 3 receiver chemistry. Everyone in here is going to be like, duh, but trust the repetition. Um, football's greatest love stories aren't written in the tabloids. They're written in practice facility between quarterbacks and receivers who refuse to settle for almost. So, obviously there was a concerning rate of drops last year. Dontavian Wicks at 27.3%. Jaden Reed struggling with timing issues and just in general, getting open. I know that losing Christian Watson towards the end of the year definitely hurt. It hurt everything as far as this offense go. And I really do believe that they emphasized the run a little bit too much, actually, even though how good Josh Jacobs was. I think you need to have a really good balance between both of those. And this might be a pass first team, as we saw that cook and work really good in the playoffs in 2023 when they lost to the Niners. Brady and Edelman, thousands and thousands of reps and connections and balls thrown, in practice. I'm not saying that they're not doing that. Maybe Brady and Edelman and how they did it was a little bit different, but you could see that that connection was there. And with a lot of Brady's receivers, he demanded that excellence. And he prepared them in their details about where they needed to be, soft spots in the zone, where they were going to break off on these certain, routes. The rhythm and the consistency was there too. So the other part of this is the receivers need to catch those balls. There's more than plenty of those balls that that they should have caught. So they need to do a much better job at that. I think that's a collective of many different points. I think that this is the point here, collectively bringing this all together, of this point of, mental synchronization through relentless repetition. When Love knows exactly where his receivers will be, and receivers know exactly when the ball will arrive, that should lead to less drops, you would think. Build the trust and Love becomes dangerous. Fail and he becomes Derek Carr. Put up stats, but receivers don't believe when it matters most. Number 5, Josh Jacobs' impact. Number 4, Josh Jacobs' impact, changing the chessboard. So the best quarterbacks don't just throw the ball, they manipulate defenses into impossible choices where every decision is wrong. Having a running back who led the NFL with 846 first half rushing yards means nothing if the quarterback can't capitalize on the opportunities that it creates. Jacobs forces the defense into quite the conflict. Stack the box and leave the receivers in single coverage, or play light and risk physical domination. Nick Chubb's presence made Baker Mayfield look like a franchise quarterback in Cleveland. Derrick Henry turned Marcus Mariota and Ryan Tannehill into playoff contenders and quarterbacks. But there's other sides of that too as well, right? Remember Adrian Peterson's time? He could not elevate Christian Ponder or Tavares Jackson, and even some would argue like Ezekiel Elliott prime years was wasted on Dak's inconsistency in crucial games. So Love has to be able to read the defensive reactions to Jacobs and exploit the mathematical advantages. Making defenses have to choose equals quarterbacks, winning most of the time anyways. So, and if not, there's other quarterbacks that have kind of had this same sort of journey, but, like Kirk Cousins, right? Good stats with elite support, but no playoff success. So, number 5, pressure performance, learning from the fire. Champions aren't built in the comfort of the regular season success. They're built when the lights are brightest and when the pressure is the most on top of them. That's what separates good quarterbacks from great quarterbacks. Love threw 3 interceptions in a single playoff game, highlighting decision-making issues when stakes are highest. 83.4 playoff passer rating over those 3 games, numbers that need to improve for championship aspirations. Eli Manning threw for 20 interceptions as a rookie, but learned to thrive in the playoffs with 2 Super Bowl MVPs. Obviously, we know what Patrick Mahomes has done too. So can he embrace the pressure situations as learning opportunities? Great quarterbacks don't avoid the fire, they learn to dance in it. Number 6, mobility, a hidden weapon or emergency exit. The most dangerous quarterbacks aren't necessarily the fastest. They're the ones who make defenses hesitate for just a split second. Love only had 83 rushing yards from last year. The real question is whether he's using his mobility strategically or as a panic button. Those type of numbers would seem kind of as a panic button. No doubt he has the athleticism. He has much more athleticism than Rodgers. I've said this from before, but he needs to be able to make that more of a chance of that happening to defenses, because when you have a split second of hesitation from the defenses, that's where you can have success, pretty consistently. And I thought Aaron Rodgers, even though toward the end of his tenure, he did not do that as much. He showed at times to be able to use that and use that effectively. So I'm not saying he's got to turn into Lamar Jackson or even an RG3, right? Who relied on his legs way too much, and that got him killed. Or even Vince Young, remember him, right? Texas onto the Titans. That never ended up working out for him too well. But doing it at certain specific times will be able to make the defenses not know which way you're going to go, right? It just makes another element to your game that they're going to have to defend and defend well. Number 7, coaching transition and growing through the change. So, with Tom Clement's retirement, removes a crucial development voice, right? One that helped Aaron Rodgers. Now Love must prove that he can evolve beyond that Clement's coaching. So him and Sean Mannion will have to get together. They will have to work on the mechanics like I alluded to earlier: communication, rhythm, cadence, timing, trust, routes, concepts, defenses, drops, zone versus man, all that sort of different stuff. And I think that'll be really critical. And I think that you see if Love takes off this year, there's no doubt that it's going to be a testament to Sean Mannion, who's getting a ton of credit for Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst both as a very good up and coming quarterback coach that is going to take the world by storm. So let him go out there and be able to even put more into the football IQ brain that is Jordan Love and make him just that much better. We saw what Tom Clements meant and did to Aaron Rodgers. Let's see that happen again for Jordan Love. Number 8, high stakes performance, raising the floor. So regular season success is the entry fee to championship conversations. What you do when everything is on the line is what defines your legacy. Love's playoff performances have been inconsistent. Championship quarterbacks must elevate their game when it matters the most. As we alluded to from before, but an 83.4 passer rating in those times. Timely interceptions for when that happened too. His best game and that he needs to continue to build off of is obviously the Dallas Cowboys, right? We saw it with the next game, San Francisco 49ers. I thought he had a pretty darn good game up until that last series where he unfortunately makes a rookie mistake and throws across his body and across the other way across the field. And we all remember how Dre Greenlaw picked that off. Learning from that, those inconsistencies and making that better time and time and again will be his key to him developing and becoming a elite quarterback. Peyton Manning was always the regular season's king, right? But struggled in the playoffs. Philip Rivers was another one, had some great seasons, could never get it done in the playoffs. So, he's got to treat those high stake games as opportunities to prove greatness rather than threats to reputation. Champions also embrace the spotlight. So will he be somebody that embraces that spotlight? We certainly hope so. Number 9, leadership evolution from player to general, right? He's got to command that huddle. He's got to command those players. He doesn't have to be an Aaron Rodgers or a Tom Brady for sure, or even like going off into the NBA like a Michael Jordan. But there is no denying that when you're demanding for that excellence, the type of stuff that shows on the field, you got to be in this right place at the right time. You have to drop in the specific place when it's zone. I need you to be here on this timing of these specific routes. I think that this will be absolutely critical. And then lead by example. I think that he already does some of those types of things. I think that he needs to continue to elevate that. And I think Matt LaFleur too has emphasized that he needs to become a little bit more vocal and demand some of that respect from him. Tom Brady's obviously the one that sticks out into my mind. 6 Super Bowls, do you need to say any more? Obviously, just alluded to Michael Jordan, 6 championships. And they were absolutely ruthless on the field or on the court. If anybody's watched The Last Dance, I absolutely love that. But off of it, he treated you fairly. He supported you. He guided you. He was a friend to you. He hung out with you. I think Jordan Love already does that thing, but I think it's now's the time to demand excellence. And I think leadership development comes through commanding huddles, adjusting protections, and rallying teammates through adversity. And becoming the voice of confidence when others doubt. Being rationally optimistic about those types of situations and leading your team through those. I think that they'll be absolutely critical. And then the last one on here, mental processing. So chess master or checkers player. Football intelligence does separate the great from the good. While others see 22 players, elite quarterbacks see a chessboard with infinite possibilities. A whole bunch of types of solutions and not problems. The modern NFL does demand lightning fast processing for sure, but Love, I do feel like Love must develop the ability to see the entire field, and he's got to make split second decisions under pressure even better. He's got to be able to get better at his mental processing speed for sure. I think that directly correlates with success rate under pressure. Great quarterbacks do think very fast, not just throw harder. You got to do all those things too as well. I think Jordan Love can certainly throw the ball very fast. So I think one person that did this really good was Peyton Manning. He saw the game, I feel like, in slow motion. Same with Tom Brady, and read really good through both of them through those pre-snap reads. Made really good pre-snap adjustments. It really was at times. I'm sure you guys know, right, from watching all those great games that those guys are in. But it was like watching, a chess grandmaster just plan 5, 6, 7 moves ahead of the defense and be able to just methodically pick them apart. So I think that there is room for him to grow quite a bit in this area. And I think if he elevates this is going to take him to another level. Well, that's it, Packers fans. Let me know what you think. I hit on a lot of topics, a lot of different things that I've been thinking of. And I think for sure that if Jordan Love can elevate more than a few of these different points that I made today, and he can stay injury-free, also the receivers, catching those balls is obviously going to help this team. But if he can do this stuff as well, I think that this could be the year where he turns from good into great. So let me know what you think. I'm being rational about how I see it with Jordan Love, but I'm also steering the ship hopefully in an optimistic direction to put some belief in Jordan Love and this football team. Well, thank you, Packers fans, for coming back and taking a listen to me this time. Just know, again, we do have new content every Wednesday and Saturday on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. I am on the socials as well. I'm at Sounds Gouda with 3 A's, and Jordan is at Olsen Jord. So you can connect with us there. But make sure to leave us some comments and let me know what you thought about this episode as well. And until next time, Packers fans, we hope that you have a good morning, a good afternoon, and a good night. Take care. Go Pack, go.
Been wanting this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Okay. Hey.